Would you vote for Donald Trump if you could go back in time and vote for him over Kamala Harris?
I'm not like a massive Trumpster. I was raised Republican, vote Republican. I just feel as if Kamala Harris wasn't very good at expressing her political views, traits, whatever. She just kind of comes off as totally inauthentic and sounds fake, along with a lot of other Democrats that are currently out there.
Could you give me one example of her quote unquote sounding fake?
Yeah, like when she's talking about yellow school buses, or the story of her laughing with her mom quoting like falling out of a coconut tree or something along those lines,
You're
or
misunderstanding two separate things that I don't know what you're talking about. That's like explaining like that you are dependent upon everything that came prior to you, things out of the context of your control, right? Everyone exists in that context. It's not that it's just randomized, or it's not that it's just like you get everything handed to you. It's that it is the case for some people, depending on who you are, it's different for plenty of different reasons that are independent of you. So that's all she was explaining there. Secondly, in terms of this, for the first point, I don't see how anything you just said sounded fake. Yellow school buses, like her having an explanation that she likes school buses. Why why
it's
why is
not
that
that
fake?
that's like a fake story. It's hard to explain. I honestly didn't think you were gonna pick me. I kind of request all the time. Um,
Because I mean, Trump has 30,000 confirmed lies or misleading statements in his first admin. He cheated on every
right,
single
and
one of
I
his
mean,
wives. He said that he would drop the
you,
Epstein files and then is clearly not going to do it. Said that they were a hoax and said that anyone who wants
yeah, I
him to
mean,
release it at this point
you
shouldn't support him.
have all these just buzzwords, and you have a bunch of like
What's a
12-year-olds
buzzword?
listening to you on your live. Like you
M-
just
My
spit
my average
random
viewer age
stuff.
is not 12 years old. Now, can you tell me what's a buzzword?
30,000 whatever felonies or whatever you just said.
Confirmed lies or misleading statements. That was
Yeah,
confirmed by the
yeah,
Washington
30,000
Post. That's not a
confirmed lies. Like,
buzzword. That's not a buzzword. And do you think the average person who's in the stream is 12 years old? Do you actually think that?
I'd say your average listener on here is between the ages of 13 and 17. Yes.
Okay, that's just not even true. And it's actually a very small percent of my viewer base.
I no, your
Although there are
target
people that are
audience is
between the age of 13 and 17, most people are above the age of 13 and 17 for sure. I can
right.
look. I literally can look at the analytics and see the
I mean,
viewers'
the half the people that
age.
you just let in before me weren't even above the age of 18. Like I was the first one in the last 10 or so people maybe, I don't know.
So kids are more likely to troll. Isn't evidence that there are more kids on my stream.
No, I'm just saying TikTok in general, the platform itself is obviously target audience is just like a high school demographic.
So
Like
why are
there's
you on
really
it?
not. Oh man, I was just scrolling, doom scrolling. I don't know. I just got home from work, just chilling.
How old are you?
26.
Okay, so then like apparently even 26-year-olds can be on the app. So what's the issue with a 23-year-old going live, dude? Get a grip on
No,
reality.
I have absolutely zero issue with it. That wasn't kind of my point. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously the target demographic isn't, little children because it also is applicable to you apparently.
Right. No, yeah, cool. You got me.
Okay, so do you want to tell me like maybe a policy of Donald Trump's that he influenced to get passed that you like? Because clearly he sounded incredibly fake throughout his entire admin. What about
What
concepts of the
about
plan?
what were your thoughts on his UN speech today? I only caught bits and pieces of it.
I didn't see it.
Just kind of talking about, and the United Nations discussing how mass immigration is kind of ruining their societies over
In
there a
what
little
way?
bit. I just think if you bring in a group of unvetted people and you try to incorporate them into society where they don't have the same, I don't want to call it standards of living, but they don't want to live the way that, say, like somebody that was born and raised in Africa was obviously raised in a different kind of way of life, either
Oh, in what
religiously.
way is their quote unquote way of life different insofar as that you would say that like they shouldn't be allowed into our country? That's really weird that you're specifically just applying this to the continent of Africa.
Well, I mean, you just see the videos of these migrant boats that land in France or in England or Spain or Italy. They're all over the internet.
What's wrong with that? Because immigration is really good. You said it was unvetted, but if you want to vet more people, then make the legal process go quicker and provide a pathway to
Oh
citizenship
yeah,
for anyone who's in the
I have
country who has
no,
not
I
committed
have.
a violent crime or bad crime. And then if you're talking about standards of living being bad insofar as that like it would be a reason that you wouldn't let them come to the country, would you say that Jewish people fleeing the during during the rise of Nazi Germany, do you think that they specifically should have been allowed to come to the United States because their standards of living were incredibly horrible, right? In
Well, I
Germany.
mean, they were totally fleeing complete political persecution.
Okay, so then like bad standards of living. So having bad standard of living doesn't mean that it is the
No,
case that
that's. I mean, that's a bad standard of living where your government wants to you.
exactly. So then like just because it is the case that they have a bad standard of living doesn't mean that they shouldn't be allowed to come to our country, correct?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm
That's
saying,
exactly what you're saying.
yeah, no. If people, there's a right and wrong way to do so.
Okay, and what's the right way and what's the okay? So wait, are you saying the right way is following the law? So do you think that Donald Trump needs to follow due process for undocumented immigrants?
Can you explain more?
Yeah, the 14th Amendment says that everyone within the country gets due process if they commit a crime. So would you say that undocumented immigrants should receive due process, right? And Donald Trump shouldn't be able to violate their due process rights because it takes too long to go through the court process and because it would cost too much to set up such a court process. That's what he was claiming as a reason as to why he doesn't need to follow through with due process rights for undocumented immigrants. But that would be him deporting people in the wrong way. So why do undocumented immigrants have to go through the context of the right way, but Trump doesn't have to?
Well, yeah, I guess I don't have a necessarily enormous rebuttal to that. I just think that if you're here illegally, like I mean, if you were a legal immigrant in this country, what do you think their stance would be on illegal immigration?
It depends on who you're talking to. I mean, I don't think that there is a monolith of opinions for immigrants. Obviously,
Right.
immigrants
Yeah.
across the
Yeah.
board
Yeah.
will have
Not.
different opinions. I think that my prescription is going to be the best prescription, as it's my prescription, right? Obviously, I would tell you what my most preferable condition would be. So anyone in the country who has not committed a violent crime or bad crime should be given a pathway to citizenship. That's the best way to vet as many people as possible.
You think a violent crime or I think you said bad crime is that
Yeah,
kind
a
of
crime that is so bad insofar as that someone should be deported. Because like I don't
right?
think
So
that coming to the country undocumented, which is a misdemeanor, is a
wouldn't
quote
that
unquote
kind
bad
of
crime.
would that be kind of like an opinionated like what everyone has a
Yes,
different kind of
yeah,
idea on what they consider to be a bad crime, right?
of course.
So therefore, who sets that precedent?
Well, from my perspective, me.
Right. But again, you're not the one that's sitting in political office. We
So
half half of America that voted. Obviously, I know not every American votes. Very. Well, I wish more people did vote. Both sides. Everyone should vote. If you're able to vote, vote. Um, like we voted him in because our standards think that illegal immigration should not. That was one of his big points. We don't want people living here that do not abide by Western society.
what does that mean? What do you mean abide by Western society? What the does that mean?
Cultural norms here in the United States.
Like what?
Hello?
Like what? What cultural norms?
Um, Hello?
Yeah, what cultural norms?
Just basic role of the land, dude. This is a Christian nation. I'm not saying you have to be a Christian to live in America. That is freedom of religion anywhere, right? But as far as I don't know, something as simple as not throwing garbage everywhere. Some of these uncivilized countries are messes. They're dirty. They don't
Okay, so you
follow.
you trying to say that like immigrants coming to the country are bringing trash and garbage to this country is actually disgusting. You associating countries
That's
around the world to be quote unquote dirty or filled with garbage is actually gross and incredibly bigoted, and it's actually ill understanding, right? The set of conditions that exist around the world. You think that the only clean areas in the world are quote unquote
no, that's
Western civilizations. That's
no,
heavily bigoted
no.
terminology. If you don't understand it yourself, it really is. It genuinely
I
is.
don't.
Considering every other country other than a Western civilized country to be
That's
specifically, that's what you said, by the way, specifically to be, why are you saying? You're cutting me off like mid sentence.
go ahead.
Yeah, you considered everything other than a quote unquote Western civilized society to be dirty, right? Or have so much garbage, which is disgusting because heavily speaking, Western civilization is heavily coded by people on the right to mean literally just white countries, disproportionately white countries. That's what they mean, right? In typical, right? And it is the case
Right.
that clearly they're trying to associate
Well,
not being majority white with there being a greater level of like quote unquote garbage and trash, which is disgusting and bigoted.
I also would like for people to come to this country and kind of learn our language and stuff and be able to
There's no
be a,
one language of this country. This country speaks plenty of different languages. If you want so badly to understand what they're saying, how about you learn different languages?
if I wanted to learn language, I would move to their country.
Again, there is no specific like language of our country.
Yes, it's English.
No, it's not.
It is. As
No, it's
much as you
not.
don't want to say it is, it is.
It's not though. It literally isn't.
Okay. We disagree there.
Well, I mean, I don't know why we disagree. Because it is the case that there's literally no factual basis for saying it's our like designated legal language. There's no designated legal like official language of the United States. There's plenty of different languages that are spoke here in the United States, and that's amazing. We love that. That's an amazing thing about America is that so many people from all around the entire world can come here and can make such a great country living together.
Who do
Right,
you?
that's the idea of immigration is that you want to make a
Sure.
great
No. Yeah.
country,
That's.
everyone together, and that specifically there being people coming from around the entire world does not mean that we can't make a great country. That's one of the things that would make the country great. Now there are plenty of different elements of this country that are not great, but that's not because of immigrants.
Yeah. Immigration's not like the biggest problem. I have a question for you. Is who do you foresee being on the next ticket in the 28 election for the Democratic Party? Just curious question. We don't need to debate anyone. I'm just genuinely curious.
I don't know.
Do
Well,
you foresee Kamala running again?
maybe.
Um, or do you think that the Democrats will heavily leans towards like an AOC? I don't think there's no way in heck
I
that
would
Bernie
hope.
Sanders runs because I think he's just way too old at this point.
Probably true, but I mean, what's the point of this? I don't really know what's gonna lead to.
There
I
is
would
no
like a
point. I
more
was just
progressive
kind of
candidate.
curious to. I was kind of just curious to see how the
Can I ask you a
what.
question? Can you
Sure.
name one Christian norm that Donald Trump upholds to a greater extent than, say, for example, Kamala Harris?
Christian norm.
Yeah, or Christian ideal.
I mean, just accepts Jesus Christ as a savior. I've never heard
Kamala
Kamala
Harris is a
Harris.
Christian,
I've never heard Kamala Harris ever speak about her faith or anything
but
like that.
she is a Christian. So can you try again?
I,
Name one
can
Christian
you can
ideal that Donald Trump upholds to a greater extent than Kamala Harris.
you just you Kamala Harris booed people out for or kicked them out of a rally over saying praise Jesus or whatever they said.
No, they weren't. No, they were heckling the crowd. They were Trump supporters, and she was telling them to go to a Trump rally down the street because they're at the wrong
No,
rally.
they said praise the Lord or Jesus is king or
That
whatever.
was that was completely cut off context. If you watch the whole context, they were heckling the crowd. They're Trump supporters, and she was telling them to go to the Trump rally down the street.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah, I guess I'll
what's
go
wrong with
back and
that?
watch it again. I'm not. You're just like you got these quick clips. You're good at it. I'll give you credit there. I mean, but you do this all day, so I mean, I guess this is basically your job. So, man, I respect the hustle.
Okay, so then, like, could you tell me Maybe something about Christianity Donald Trump upholds to a greater extent, because it doesn't seem like you have anything.
Donald Trump as a Christian?
Kamala Harris is a Christian.
No, that's your question. Is how is Donald Trump a Christian?
No, can you name one Christian ideal that Donald Trump upholds to a greater extent than Kamala Harris?
Mm, every day waking up.
Kamala Harris wakes up every day. I'm confused. They just left. Okay. That was very embarrassing. I'm not going to lie.